Hello everyone, my name is Kimberly and welcome to today's training session. So together with my partner Minhajul Hossein Moyin, we are leading today's workshop on applying adult learning in higher education and related to human resource and development. As FESI trainers and educators, we often assume that when we teach adults, we naturally use adult teaching methods, but is that actually true in practice? So today, we are taking a deep dive into an empirical research study by Galeta and Raju, Seyum and Basha, and Desta and Guksa. By the end of this session, you will be able to identify the key implementation gaps in adult education as well as apply Malcolm Knowles' 6 assumptions of Andragogy to design effective workplace training and also connect adult teaching methods to SDG for quality education. So let's start by looking at the research foundation shown in our infographic poster. The primary study we are evaluating is Galita and Raju 2026, which investigates how university teachers in Utopia apply adult learning principles in their teaching practices. So these authors, they use mixed method design, surveying 63 university teachers and conducting in-depth interviews. Other than that, we also synthesize findings from 2 context studies which that are Sayam and Basha as well as Desta and Guksa. So Sayam and Basha 2017, they conducted a quantitative survey among 800 adults across adult education program in Eastern Utopia. Meanwhile, Desta and Guksa, they evaluated the integrated functional adult education program using qualitative observation and interview methods in the Amhara region. This is also in Utopia. So these 3 theories, they are using the Malcolm Knowles theory, which assumes that adult learners are self-directed, bring rich life experiences, and require problem-centered learning. So now, let's look at the research, what it actually reveals. So let's look at number 1, which says adult learning principles are not being used well. So Galeta and Raju, they found that while instructors, they understand and agree with adult learning principles, but they still conduct lecture in a traditional way instead of using that theory. And findings number 2, which says active learning and use of life experiences are lacking. He stated that active learning methods are only used rarely, which the average score is 2.42 over 4. So it is used rarely in the classroom. Meanwhile, Desta and Guksa, they observe facilitators often ignore or dismiss learners' past experiences, sometimes even treating adult learners' informal discussions as noise disturbance rather than valuable learning input. So, on a positive note, Galeta and Raju, they recorded high mean scores for instructor feedback and active participation. But overall instruction remains heavily instructor control. So, as HRD practitioners and educators, how do we fix this? So, I will hand this time over to Minhajul to walk us through the practical solutions.
Thank you, Ms. Kimberly. Hi, everyone. I'm Minhajul. Now, I'm going to highlight the connection between adult learning, also known as Andragogy, with our research findings. So, now that we understand the empirical problem, let's discuss how we can transform workplace learning and employee development using Malcolm Knowles' Six Assumptions of Andragogy. Now, I want all of you to look at the left bottom corner of our infographic poster. There, we try to connect adult learning uh, principles with our research finding using Malcolm Knowles' six assumptions. The first assumption is self concept. That means adult employees need autonomy. So, what does autonomy mean? Before I answer that question, I want all of you to reflect on your career as a working adult. I'm pretty sure all of us have at some point experienced that our trainers or our HRD managers, they enforce some sort of training on us that has not no relation to our work at all, and we don't have any interest in that, but because our managers want us to do that course or training, we had to go through that training session. So when we talk about autonomy needs of the adult employees, it means that in workplace training, we should not enforce any rigid modules on the adult employees. Instead of doing that, we should give the employees choices in selecting their own learning paths, their preferred project topics, or the approaches they want to apply in solving their own problems. It helps them to understand their own problem better. It also reflects on their interest and how they can improve their skills better. So it gives them the sense of freedom that they have their own choices in career development, and in the long run, it also helps in the development of the organization. The second assumption is role of experience. What does that mean? So, as an HRD facilitator, we always assume that employees do not enter training as empty states. That means they already have some sort of experience in what we're going to train them into, maybe due to their day-to-day life working experiences, or maybe they had some familiarities with self-learning on that topic, or before the training they have tried to at least go through some of the topics on their own. So, as effective HRD facilitators, we should always use peer teaching, case studies, and structured debriefs to validate and build upon the real world experiences of the participant. When we are able to relate the training session or the course materials to the real world experiences of the participant, it helps the participants to grasp that specific topic better and apply that in their day-to-day job. The third assumption is readiness to learn. We always assume that adults become ready to learn when they experience a real need in their job role. We need to understand that alignment between training content and the immediate job responsibilities and requirements of the participant is a critical factor that we always need to consider. Employees, specifically the adult employees, they always try to learn something new when there is a need for them to grow in their career, or maybe they need some sort of skill to perform their job better now. At that situation, they are always ready to tackle on something new and learn something new. We always assume that. The fourth assumption is orientation to learning. So we need to shift away from subject centered lectures toward problem centered learning. We assume that adult employees learn the best when They're given the opportunity to learn something through problem solving, and when they can uh, relate that knowledge to their real world experiences. The training should always focus on solving actual operational challenges that the employees face every day. It helps them to develop confidence and be better at their job, and it also makes them ready to tackle on new challenges every day that they face on their day-to-day job. The fifth assumption is internal motivation. Now, we need to understand what motivates the adult employees better. I'm pretty sure most of us have been influenced by some sort of motivation through our career. Yes, promotions and raises are one of the main motivators for the adult employees, but they are the short term motivators. If we look into the long term learning engagement in adults, it is driven by the internal desires for mastering a new skill or mastering the skills the employees currently have. They want to build their own self confidence, or they want to be better at the job, or maybe the employee want professional growth. So we always assume that the main motivating factor for the adult employees to learn something is their inner desire to become a master of what they are doing currently, or maybe they want to build their own self confidence, or just because they want to be more successful in their career or develop their own career goals. The sixth and the final assumption is the need to know. What does that mean? That means that before launching any training session, we need to explain why this knowledge or why these specific skills matters to the participant or the adult learners. So before just throwing any training session at the adult learners, we need to discuss with them first and try to explain them if they take these courses or maybe certification, training or something like that, it will help them to understand their job better. Maybe it will help them in their career development. So basically, as HRD practitioners or trainers, what we need to do is we need to show the adult employees how this specific knowledge can help them in their workplace, maybe in their career development, or how it can boost up their confidence, or maybe it will help them in upskilling or reskilling that they want to achieve in their career. So we need to explain why, and the employees, they need to know why do they need this knowledge, and to the participant how it's going to make their work more efficient. Now let's examine the broader societal impact of this research by linking it to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 4, also known as quality education. As you can see on the top right corner of our infographic, SDG 4, also known as the quality education, aims to ensure inclusive, equitable, and lifelong learning opportunities for everyone, regardless of their race, regardless of their age, regardless of their gender, or any other contributing factors that may affect someone's education. The research done by Jeleta and Raju back in 2026 on the demographic of Ethiopian adult learners, we can see that the research reminds us that achieving quality education requires more than just enrolling students or scheduling employee training sessions. Most importantly, it depends entirely on the quality of the instructions, or we can also say it instructional quality. Specifically, if we target the SDG goal 4, which is quality education, it should emphasize on the increasing it should emphasize on increasing the supply of qualified teachers and facilitators through effective professional development. When HRD departments and universities train facilitators to move away from rigid lectures and adopt learner centered active andragogy, we also need to build a skilled workforce, enhance lifelong learning, and support sustainable institutional growth, not only for the universities and our schools or educational institutes, but also for the workplace. For the workplace, if we want the adult learners to learn more effectively, we need to ensure that they have qualityful teachers, facilitators, trainers who can give them the skills they need and help them to achieve their goals in their careers and help them to uh, develop much better goals for the organizational development as well. Okay, everyone. So now let's have a reflection session. So, uh, to put what we have learned so far into practice right now, I want all of you watching this video right now to reflect on a recent training session or class that you have attended. And I want you to ask yourself these two questions. The first question is, was the training session or the class that you have attended recently, was it instructor centered, or were you given the choice or the space to share your own experience? And did you get the chance to guide your own learning in that particular session? The second question that I think we all should reflect is, how can we adjust our own training style tomorrow to incorporate at least one active learning technique? So I'll give you some time to think about it and reflect on it before we continue to the last part of our session, which is the conclusion. And after the conclusion, you will be given a reflection form to evaluate the session conducted by me and Miss Kimberly. So, guys, we have reached the final part for our session today. I hope you guys had a good time and you were able to learn something from the session conducted by me and Miss Kimberly. So, to summarize our key takeaways for today, I would like to emphasize the importance of bridging the gap between adult learning, theory, and actual practices, which is really essential for effective teaching and human resource development. By embracing self directed learning, incorporating learner experience, and promoting active participation, we transform education from passive listening into empowering growth. So that's it for today. I hope it was a fun session for you guys. After this, we're going to share with you a Google Form link. Uh, Please take some of your valuable time to complete the Kirkpatrick evaluation form. Your feedback is really crucial for our continuous improvement, and it will help us to understand how can we improve our skills as an trainer or effective teacher to make these kind of sessions more interactive and easy to understand for the students. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are having a good day. And that's it. Thank you so much again for your time, attention, and your active participation.